Hello, Facebook. Dr. Patel here. Hope everyone is doing well. This is a wonderful Friday afternoon in a crazy 2020. I know that really what it comes down to is that this year has been and continues to be absolutely insane. I'm sure there's a lot of folks that are dealing with the anxiety, stress of this week in particular, with the elections and with everything going on with that. No matter what side you're on, I'm sure there's a lot of confusion, anxiety, worry, stress, all of the above, and that's on top of what's already been going on, right? Um, Coronavirus, the pandemic, the economy, health, wealth, confusion. It's been a crazy year. And needless to say, that this year has brought on a lot of stress and anxiety for folks. Um, the problem is ultimately that the stress and anxiety from this year has had negative effects on us in general as a society, but on an individual basis, this can affect so many things: your cortisol levels, your ability to heal, um, pain, right? Pain could be a lot worse when we're stressful, when we're filled with anxiety, when we're filled with depression. Really, that can all cause pain to be worse, and vice versa, right? If we're in pain, that can be very stressful and that can cause a lot of pain issues as well. So, today, I wanted to talk about what are some things that we can do in order to actually decrease some of our stress, decrease some of our worry, decrease some of our depression, improve our mood with actually a simple physical strategy that can help overall. So, I was this week particularly. I'm sure, as a lot of others have been doing, we've been kind of on our laptops, on our computers, watching the TV, looking down at our phones, paying attention to the news, really glued to what's going on with the election right now. And with that, I noticed I was starting to have some, neck aches and some upper back issues, and my low back was speaking to me a little bit, and I was wondering, like, what's going on? And I, realized pretty quickly that I was sitting there on my cell phone, I was sitting there on my laptop, and really that anxiety, that stress of everything that was going on was tightening up my traps, and quite frankly, my posture was really crappy. And I actually noticed that when I was sitting in a slump position, I mean, maybe it was the things that I was looking at, right? But that made my mood to be altered. I was getting a little snappy. I've been getting a little snappy. I apologize to my wife. But that really, I seemed to be tied to not only everything that was going on, but really the body position that I was in. It's really interesting, because several years ago, back in 2014, there was a randomized control trial that looked at slumped versus upright postures and how that could affect stress responses. There's been other, studies, other theories that go along with this, and really changing our posture actually helps with changing how we respond to stress going on throughout our lives. The interesting thing is stress is really not just an internal thing, but it's how we react to an external thing, right? If we have negativity going on in our life, whether it's an injury that you had, whether it's the economy, whether it's worrying about coronavirus or whatever it may be, it's not necessarily always those things themselves that are the issue, but it's how we react to those things. And that's really important, because it's like, if you get injured, if you have if you twist your ankle and you sprained your ankle, or injured your knee or did something along those lines. And then if we don't react to that appropriately, if we don't do the proper exercise, if we don't rest, if we don't, you know, ice when necessary, if we don't, go to the doctor if that pain is lingering, if we don't do the things that are necessary in order to heal from that injury, well, that injury is going to get worse. If you twist your ankle and it swells up, and instead of doing the appropriate movement to get moving properly, instead we completely baby it and we worry about every step that we take, so we're limping when we don't necessarily have to limp, right? Now all of a sudden we're favoring and our other knee's gonna hurt. We're moving abnormally, so our back's gonna hurt, right? This is a snowball effect that's directly related to pain. The same thing is applicable when we have stressors in our life. It's really interesting. So let's say we have, a family member that's sick with COVID, or if we're being influenced by the fact that the economy has been hurt, or if we're worried about what's going on politically in the US, right? And we take that and we internalize that and we actually start to react to that inappropriately, that can then cause a snowball effect. When we find ourselves slumping downwards, right? If we're moping, if our posture is downwards, then that can actually cause our mood to be worse. And that's such an important fact to realize. There's a phrase that I'm sure you guys are accustomed to, is fake it till you make it, right? I actually have to find this study, but there was something a while ago that I read that talked about if you smile, even if you're not happy, it could change your mood into being happy, right? If you smile at somebody else, there's a likelihood that they are going to then smile to somebody else. And the same thing goes for our posture. If we fake it till we make it, if we're down and we feed into that, then that's going to make the situation worse. If we're down, but we force ourselves to sit upright, then that will actually improve our mood, and we'll find ourselves being more positive, putting out to the world positivity, and then that will pay its way forward to other people and make our world a better place overall. So not just for your mood, but for your surroundings, we really need to sit up straight, stand up tall, improve our posture, not only for our internal health, but for the way we react to the external environment, and also how the external reacts to us. So, long story short, we got to pay attention to our posture. Now, here's the thing. My posture is horrible. My wife yells at me at the dinner table all the time. I tell my patients all the time, my wife yells at me because I'm sitting there eating like this, right? Or I'm sitting in the car and I find myself going like this while I'm sitting in the car. My posture could be really horrible. I find myself easier to pay attention to my posture when I'm standing. But when I'm sitting, my posture really goes to crap real quick. So what are things that we can do, especially during this time period, this year particularly, when a lot of people are working from home, a lot of people are in front of the computers, TV screens, etc. A lot of people are on their phones checking about what's going on with electoral votes and all that stuff. What do we do to improve our posture during this time in order to improve our mood, improve our health, and improve our surroundings? Well, it's super, super simple. If you know that you're going to be sitting for a long period of time, making the time to actually get up and stand and move. Super, super simple, super real, realistic to do. What I tell my patients all the time is, if you have a job when you're in front of the computer, if you know that you're going to be sitting for a long period of time, use your cell phones to your advantage. Set an alarm, set a little ding that could go off every hour or so, that could just remind you, that could annoy you and remind you to, hey, stand up. all right? Because it could be a matter of just standing up and stretching for a second to reset yourself when you get back to your computer and your setup. Speaking of the setup, thinking about your ergonomics, super important, really. And if you have questions about your specific ergonomics, comment, DM, contact my office. We can always talk over what's the best way to set up your computer screens, your monitors, your desk, whether it's a standing desk, sitting desk, all of these things. We need to make sure that we're setting up our ergonomic environment to improve our posture as well. And then finally, there's a couple simple stretches that could be done in order to really help us improve our posture. Number one is making sure that our neck is actually retracted. And this is something funny. Ever since I was younger, I've always had my neck kind of leaning forward like this, especially when I'm sitting. But a very simple thing that we can do is actually push our chin backwards. So this is called a chin tuck. If you imagine our neck moving forward like this as we have poor posture, think of the chin tuck as going straight back, like you're making a double chin. This is not bending down or bending upwards. This is going straight back and really activating the muscles back here. It could be a really beneficial stretch / exercise to help with your posture overall. Number two is in addition to our neck going forward, we have the tendency to round forward like this when we're on our computers, when we're on our cell phones, etc. So reversing that ends up being very, very important. Two things that you can do: find yourself a corner of your room, and by putting your hands in each of the corners, see, I'm like a little bit of a mime here. Put your hands in the corners here and just lean forward. You can stretch some of your pec muscles here. That stretch could be really good to balance out that curvature that you have with poor posture. And then the other thing is to strengthen the muscles back here. We have our YTWL exercises. Basically, different exercises that we can do to stretch our arms, bring our arms back in different positions to really work on tightening these muscles back here. And what we should be focusing on is imagining that we have something like a walnut between our shoulder blades that we're trying to kind of crack there. Really important when we're doing that not to actually inadvertently move our neck forward while we're doing that, because that could, of course, reverse some of the things that we're trying to accomplish. But by keeping your chin back and stretching backwards in different positions, mimicking different letters like a Y, a T, a W, and an L, can really be beneficial for strengthening the muscles between the shoulder blades and helping, again, battle that forward curvature that we have with poor posture. And then finally, the last tip that I have for posture is this is a little bit of a difficult one, but while we're sleeping, we find ourselves getting in crooked positions when we're sleeping, and if you do have poor posture, or not, one of the best ways to sleep, which is also one of the most difficult in my opinion, is lying on your back. When I say lying on your back, we got to be careful about things like pillows, right? Because if you're lying on your back, let's say this is the bed behind us, and we have a really big pillow underneath our head, well, then we're just mimicking a poor posture then at this point, right? So sleeping on your back with no pillow or a flat pillow can actually help us stay in a better position as far as our neck is concerned. To take pressure off of your low back while you're sleeping, putting pillows underneath your knees could be beneficial also. And that may be able to actually help with our posture when we're upright, if we are in a better aligned position when we're lying down. Of course, that's easier said than done, because I toss and turn. I'm more often than not on my side. Problem with being on your side, right, is what position are we in, right? No matter what position we're in that curled forward position that is ultimately the opposite of what we're trying to accomplish when we're trying to improve our posture. So let's take those tips. I think it's really important working on our ergonomics when we're working, sitting, etc. Setting a reminder to stand up and stretch, and doing the stretches that I just outlined, trying to improve your sleep. All of those things end up being super important, small, easy fixes to try to keep awareness about your posture and improve your posture, because ultimately the posture is not the end game when it comes to your pain conditions. Posture is not your end game when it comes to your mood, depression, anxiety. But if we have poor posture, that might actually be adding fuel to the fire when it comes to our stress and anxiety, dealing with all of what's going on in 2020. I hope that made sense. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, share this video. I think this is super important because really we're dealing with a screwed up year, and there's a lot of external stressors that we're dealing with. If we internalize those external stressors, and if our posture mimics that stress, that's only going to snowball and make things worse. Let's be aware of our posture. Let's improve that. Let's put a smile on our face, even if we're not feeling a smile inside. Put that out to the world, and the world will be a better place. I wish you all the best. This has been Dr. Patel. DM, comment, send me a line. You can reach me or my office at info@fxregencenter.com. Our new website is fxregencenter.com, and we are now called the Center for Functional Regeneration. Dr. Patel signing out. Wish you all the best. Have a great weekend. Smile on your face. Sit up tall.